डॉक्टर बाबा साहेब आंबेडकर ओपन यूनिवर्सिटी.
Hello friends and learners of Indian poetics, conducted and organized by Dr. Baba Saheb Ambedkar Open University. I recommend other students also to join this beautiful course on Indian poetics. I have repeatedly said this, and I would like to repeat it once again, that this is very dynamic university and we need to introduce new subjects like Indian poetics. On Dhwani. Dhwani is one of the most important schools of Indian poetics. It is also a poetic theory which was whose exponent was Anand Vardhan, a great Kashmiri theoretician and poetician. Anand Vardhan was a great scholar and he believed that true poetry, true art should be suggestive. Actually, the word Dhwani is directly connected with suggestiveness. When something happens, there is suggestiveness. Anything which is beautiful in art or poetry, even films, we always find that there must be suggestiveness. The idea of suggestiveness is some new meaning which is communicated with the listeners or spectators or readers. Actually, in all arts, bhavakas, in Sanskrit it is called the word bhavak, and bhavak means a reader or a listener or a spectator. When you see the drama, you are a spectator. When you listen to music, you are a listener, srota. When you are a reader of literature, you read literature and you become a reader. So reader, spectator and listener, they are all bhavakas. And bhavakas should have certain good qualities. Then only they can appreciate, they can understand, they can comprehend, they can identify themselves with the true beauty of art. Now we further discuss what Dhwani is. You all know that rasa is an affective theory, while Dhwani is a semantic theory. To understand this, you must understand that rasa affects the listeners, the spectators, the bhavakas. Dhwani is also a theory that affects bhavakas, but the communication is different. It is semantic theory, theory related to language, theory related to words, shabda, artha, sentences, diction, etc. So it is related to semantic theory. Anandavardhan was a 9th century Kashmiri scholar who was the exponent of Dhwani theory in his work Dhwanyalok. Anandavardhan was a Kashmiri scholar Actually, Kashmir was one of the most important places in India where there were scholars, highly philosophical culture, and artistic culture. If you study Kashmir, you understand that it was probably one of the most important legacy that India has received from Kashmir. Anandavardhan was 9th century Kashmiri scholar, 9th century AD, after the birth of Jesus. It was 9th century Kashmiri scholar, and he was the exponent of Dhvani theory. He introduced a new theory called Dhvani, and it was introduced in his work Dhvanyaloka. It is a book which Anandavardhan has written, and the name of the book is Dhvanyaloka. The word Dhvanyaloka means Dhvani Aloka. It is a place where Dhvani lives, Dhvani resides. It is the place of Dhvani. Actually, the entire world is full of Dhvani. And this is a philosophical concept also. He revolutionized Sanskrit literary theory by proposing that the main goal of good poetry is to evoke mood or rasa. And Anandavardhan said that important part of good poetry is to evoke, create mood or rasa. And that is why he said that Dhvani is important. Dhvani creates mood or rasa. And he said that the goal of poetry is to create artistic mood or rasa. This was a revolutionary concept which changed the scenario. Instead of just talking about Vakrokti or about Alankaras or about rasa theory, he said that the basic source of rasa is Dhvani. Then let us define Dhvani. What is Dhvani? In a simple meaning, the word Dhvani means sound, something that we hear, we listen, and that touches our heart, our mind, and our aesthetic delight. Dhvani is suggested meaning. Shabda and Arth are the body of poetry, but Dhvani is Kavyatma. This is the definition by Anandavardhan about Dhvani. He says, Dhvani is a suggested meaning. Dhvani means suggested meaning. It is not a direct meaning. It is not something that we hear and understand as it is, but it is suggested meaning. There is a suggestion. When a word is spoken, it has a different meaning, the meaning which is suggested. And Earth, Shabda and Arth. Actually, in literature, these are the two great phenomena, Shabda and Artha. Shabda means word and Arth means meaning. In Sanskrit, it is said that Shabda and Arth are like Shiva Parvati. They are inseparable. They cannot be separated. They are not different. But at the same time, they are united. They are deeply involved in each other. And that is why Shabda and Arth are the body of poetry, but Dhvani, which is a suggestion, is Kavyatma, the soul of poetry. The soul of poetry is Dhvani. Dhvani is such poetry in which words and their literal meaning are in subordinate position and suggests some charming sense to the readers. This is a very good definition of Dhvani. What is Dhvani? Dhvani is such poetry in which words and their literal meaning are in subordinate position. When some words are used, they have a literal meaning, but these words and their literal meaning become subordinate. They come down to grade 2, that is, they go down and suggest some charming sense to the readers. And instead of just communicating literal meaning, it suggests charming sense to the readers. Dhvani is such poetry in which words and their literal meaning are in subordinate position and suggests some charming sense to the readers. Let me explain this. Dhvani means such poetry in which words and their literal meaning, lexical meaning, the real meaning become subordinate. They are not in the main area. They only become subordinate and suggest some charming sense to the readers. And they give some new meaning which are not in the words, which are not in their literal meaning. This charming sense to the readers is provided through Dhvani. In English, we often say between the lines. This means that when you read something, there are lines, there are words, there are full stop and other punctuations. But these punctuations, words and meaning become meaning number 2. And meaning number 1 is between the lines. There is a new meaning which is not written, which is not literal, which is not in the words. So this is called Dhvani. Further, when we will discuss about kinds of words, we will have to learn about this again. And this theory is there are 3 levels of meanings. In words, there are 3 kinds of words, 3 levels of meanings. One is Abhida. Abhida means primary meaning, denotative meaning or lexical meaning. This means that when we use the word table, it is the primary meaning is what we see as a table. We understand what table is. It only denotes table. It denotes the actual meaning of the word, which is a primary meaning. And lexical means the word which is used as it is used. For example, when we use the word chair, table, man, woman, flower, or whatever. When we say rose, we remember rose. That is its primary meaning. But when it suggests the meaning, for example, rose, the word rose becomes suggestive. And rose expresses beauty. It communicates beauty. When we say in English literature, there is a very famous poem, "My love is like rose." Now, when the word rose is expressed as a beloved, it becomes Vyanjana, the 3rd number. Number 2 is Lakshana, which is secondary meaning, connotative and metaphorical. But Vyanjana, which is the highest quality of words, which is Dhvani actually, it is suggestive, tertiary and socio-cultural meaning. Vyanjana has a suggestive quality. It is in number 3. Abhida is primary, Lakshana is secondary, and Vyanjana is third number. It has a social cultural meaning also. For example, when you use certain words, they are directly connected with social and cultural context. For example, in Gujarati, we have many things which are connected with our culture, with our society, with our understanding of the people. It is called Vyanjana. And Lakshana is metaphorical, Rupakatmak. It shows Rupak, metaphor. Lakshana is not like Abhidha, it is not like Vyanjana, but it is connected with primary meaning, but suggests some new meaning also as Rupak. When we hear a word, what we understand is Abhidha. Now this is the explanation of these three levels of meanings. When we hear a word, we understand it as Abhidha. Abhidha is direct understanding of a word. As I had already given you the examples of man, woman, table, chair, rose, etc. It gives you, when you say man, you remember what man is and you understand what man is. Lakshana is related to primary meaning, but it is different from primary meaning. Lakshana is different from Abhidha. It is related to primary meaning, no doubt, but it is different from primary meaning. Once again, let me give you an example of the word man. When we use the word man, we understand that what man is. Man is a male human being. That is what man is. But you know that in Gujarati, socio-cultural, we often understand man. A woman often talks about man as husband. Man is Purush, and Purush is often connected with the meaning of the word, which is husband. So this shows that this is called Vyanjana. Lakshana is the middle area, neither Abhidha nor Vyanjana. It has a secondary meaning. It is connotative. It is not suggestive. It is not denotative. It is only connotative. That is metaphorical. Of course, it is connected with primary meaning also. According to Dhvani theorists, there is suggested meaning, pratyatmana. Suggested meaning is called pratyatmana in Dhvani theory, and it is called Vyangyartha. Vyangya Artha. Vyangya Artha is not direct meaning, it is suggested meaning. Speech can be divided into two parts. When we speak something, when we write something, there are two things, two parts, Vachya and Pratyatmana. Vachya is what is expressed, denotative, that is Abhidha. Vachya is Abhidha. Vachya is when something is spoken. The word Vachya means spoken. When something is spoken, it has a denotative meaning. And then comes Pratyatmana. Pratyatmana is a hidden meaning. It is not an open meaning. It is, as I told you, between the lines. When you read something, you find that there is some meaning which is not expressed in the words, but it is beyond words, and yet it has a deeper meaning, suggestive meaning. This suggestiveness of words is Dhvani. Vyanjana can be communicated by words, sentences, discourses, contexts, intonation, gestures, etc. Suggestive meaning cannot turn into poetry if there is no Vyangyartha. Vyangyartha is important. Suggestive meaning creates poetry, and to create this poetry there are uses of words, sentences, discourses, contexts, intonation, gestures, etc. You understand that gestures are presented in dancing and abhinaya. Intonation is the kind of voice, higher and lower voice, how to speak loudly or slowly and with no stress or pitch, contexts, discourse, sentences and words. Actually, language starts with letters, akshar, then comes words. Words are combination of akshars, letters, and sentences are the combination of words. Discourse is combination of sentences with context of social or cultural background. Intonation is the voice pitch, and gesture means kind of expressions presented through body language. So, suggested meaning is very necessary for Vachyarth and then for Vyangyarth. There is a theory called Spota. You all know that the word Spota or Spotak is used in Gujarati also, in Hindi also. Originally it is a Sanskrit word. Spot means blast, burst or explosion. When something bursts, it is called spot. Spot manifests in the last sound of the word. When something is spoken, the last sound of the word manifests, presents spot. Spot means to burst out. The meaning of word spot means to explode, to burst out. When there is a sound or there is a noise or there is a bursting noise, it is called spot. And then energy is released when it is articulated. And when it is spoken, a new energy is released in spot. Now, spot brings cognition to the mind of the listener. When we hear something as a listener, we listen to something, our mind receives some knowledge, understanding, some sensitivity. It is called spot. Spot happens in our brain, in our mind, in our heart. And this spot, when somebody speaks and you understand, that happens in your brain. This theory of spot is very important in human life. We all understand, or when we listen to the music, we have multiple experiences. One experience is that of the meaning, the other experience is that of touching our heart, tranquility and peace to our mind. Spot is based on linguistic theory and related to Dhvani theory. Spot is related to linguistic theory, related to language. Anandavardhan borrowed this idea from Bhartrihari. I am sure that you know about Bhartrihari. In Gujarati, we call it Bhartruhari. In English, it is often written as Bhartrihari, who was a king, a great philosopher, and great poetician also. And he talked about linguistics, and this idea of linguistics was borrowed by Anandavardhan from Bhartrihari. What are the characteristics of Dhvani? Number one, in Dhvani, there is incongruity in primary and suggested meaning. This idea you must understand. There is an opposition or very often quite different meaning between primary meaning and suggested meaning. Suggested meaning is different from primary meaning. So in Dhvani, there should be always difference between the primary meaning and the suggested meaning. As I told you about rose, when you understand rose as rose, it is a primary meaning. When it is understood as love, as romance, it is suggested meaning. Suggested meaning is concealed and unexpressed. Suggested meaning is hidden meaning. It is not an open meaning. You cannot find it in the words. It is, as I told you, between the lines, between the two lines. And there is a different meaning which is different from primary meaning. Suggested meaning requires capable readers, sarodaya. This word is very important. How to understand Dhvani? How to understand suggestive or suggested meaning? To understand suggested meaning, you must have a very capable, very sensitive heart. In Sanskrit, for capable readers, capable bhavakas, there is a word called saradaya. And saradaya means one who has a sensitive heart, one who is capable, understanding, his understanding or her understanding is quite profound. Its revelation leads to chamatkriti. And this characteristic of Dhvani is, it leads to chamatkriti, poetic delight. When you understand or when you hear suggested meaning, and if it happens in your heart, it gives you poetic delight. Primary meaning cannot give such a delight. In primary meaning, there is no such thing. For example, even when you say man or woman or rose, it's a primary, as a primary meaning, it doesn't give you any extraordinary pleasure or delight. When you say man as a man, woman as a woman, doesn't give you that delight, poetic delight. Poetic delight happens only when there is a suggested meaning. When suggested meaning touches your heart, for example, as rose I told you about love, the idea of love is directly connected with rose. Rose is just not a flower. It symbolizes love. It symbolizes deep, profound attachment to man with woman and woman with man, or even love for everybody. Only suggested meaning can provide such a delight. So such a delight happens only when there is suggestive meaning. Word dhvani is termed as sounds, terms it as sound, rings or reverberate. Word dhvani is like a sound or ringing or echoing, reverberating. The word dhvani is used for conventional symbol, conventional meaning, power of words, suggestive meaning. Now, conventional symbol, when we hear any word, we understand it as a conventional symbol. It means that, for example, when we use the word rose, rose is understood conventionally as a flower. Its conventional meaning is a flower. So, conventional meaning and conventional traditional symbolism or meaning are represented in not in dhvani but in primary meaning. These primary things with the power of words turn into suggestive meanings, and when they become suggestive meanings, they become dhvani. Poetic work with suggestive element. Anand Vardhan said that nothing is poetry if it is not suggestive. All poetic works should have suggestive element. If there is no suggestive element, there is no poetry. Anand Vardhan says very clearly that poetry would not take place. There would be no poetry if there is no suggestiveness. Now finally, it is important to explain you the great two epics of India, the Mahabharata and Ramayana. Why are the Mahabharata and Ramayana two great epics, not of India alone, but of the entire world? Why? The idea is this, that it is full of dhvani, it is full of suggestive meaning. Every character has a different dhvani like status. For example, when we say Krishna, he is highly lovable person, one who lives with tranquility, with peace, with good relationship with all. He is very clear in his ideas. When he tells Arjun to fight with the Kauravas, he explains to him different theories like Sankhya, Jnana Marga, Bhakti Marga, etc., Karma Marga. And finally he says that as a Kshatriya, as a warrior, you need to fight because you are a Kshatriya. The primary karma of Kshatriya is to fight the evil. Kauravas are evil and you need to fight with them. You can talk about Bhishma or even Dhritarashtra. It is very interesting to understand Dhritarashtra. Dhritarashtra represents fatherhood. There are many fathers who are madly in love with their children and they allow their children to go on the wrong way, become evil-minded like Duryodhana and Dushasan and his 100 children. What does this mean? This simply means that Dhritarashtra is blind not physically only, but mentally and spiritually. He is completely blind. He doesn't understand that his son is not right. When his son Duryodhana and Dushasan bring Draupadi into the court and tries to remove her clothes, it is one of the worst things that has happened in the entire world. Now, why did Dhritarashtra not say anything? He is blind. He doesn't see it, not physically only, but mentally too. Bhishma is very brave, but he becomes sober simply because he says arthasya dasa. I am the servant of money. My money, my wealth, my power comes from Duryodhana. And that is why I am under his control. Now you can understand that such characters in the Mahabharata represent entire humanity. Even today, if you compare present day people, there are many fathers who are like Dhritarashtra. There are many people who are like Duryodhana. There are many who are like Karnas. Karna was a great man, the son of the sun. The son of the sun, S-U-N, Suryadev. And the son of the Suryadev became friend of a evil-minded Duryodhana. He knew it, that Duryodhana is not right. But like Bhishma, he too was controlled by Duryodhana through his power, through his help, making him Angaraja. He was made, crowned as a king of Anga, and he was called Angaraja. So such examples show that suggestive element is very necessary in all great literature. And that is why about Veda Vyasa it is said that Vyasa Uchishta Jagat Sarvam. The entire world is tested by Veda Vyasa. Veda Vyasa knows what the world is. In world, there are great, wonderful people like Lord Krishna. And also there are worst people, the most evil-minded people like Duryodhana, Shakuni, Dushasan, and so on. So, with this example, we can say that suggestiveness is important part of any great poetry. Good poetry can be generated only by Dhvani. I request you to join this Indian poetics, and I would be happy that you learn something new. Even the students of English literature should learn Indian poetics. As a professor of English, I tell you this because I know that our culture, just now I told you about Veda Vyasa. There are great writers in Greece and England and many parts of the world, but the profound philosophy of life is inherently found in Indian culture only. So let us be proud of our culture. Thank you very much. Thank you.